All right. This is a good video for me to comment on. I'm watching Why the Far Right is Always Worse Than the Far Left. It's a Young Don Reacts and Secular Talk. It's Young Don and Secular Talk watching a video Why the Far Right is Always Worse Than the Far Left. It's I think the source video is actually going to be the really important video because I kind of think Young Don and Secular Talk are pretty much going to hit the exact same things that I say pretty much all the time. But why the far left and far right are not the same. I could pretty much say right now what the far right. I'd say it. The far right is basically what religion is. They are about control. They want to control you. They want somebody at the top controlling you. Does this sound like I don't know, anything that you go to church on every Sunday? To listen to? And I'm not even really talking about God here. Because honestly, a lot of times when I think about God, I kind of think God would be someone that when you get to heaven, God would probably want to have a conversation with you. At the very least, God would want to listen to you. How was your life? Did you have fun? What did you do? What was your struggles? Talk to me. But your priest or pastor, when you go to church, maybe the other days of the week might be different, but when you go to church, do you do any talking? That right there is kind of like a good metaphor for right-wing conservative politics. They want to tell you what to do, how to do it, how to think, everything. And if when you step out of line, well, there you go. Now you get the boot, now you get the belt. So, yeah, let's see what they say. Hold on, pause so it's not weird, because then there'd be a lot of interference. Now they're talking about how conservatives and the conservative philosophy is basically just no, let's be stagnant and let's keep things exactly the way they are. Let's take society, put it in amber, and just or probably even right-wing conservatism is why don't we go backward in time, and the way my grandpappy had it was even better. That's like even worse version of conservatism. It's like things were better back then. It's like, are you sure? I, I think if we turn back the clock and we actually went there, like that's like something if we had like a time machine and you could go back there but like not interact. Like if you could just go back there and actually like see how people, like if we could go back to 1776 and like you could see people like interacting and like see everybody like walking around like with their fucking just everything. Just fucking everything and be like, just like, not for an instant, but like for days and weeks. And just be like, after a while, you just be like, yeah, there isn't even $1 general. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we want this. Like, I think that alone would be like, okay, you won me over. We don't want to do this. We want to do like 1950. And you can go back to 1950 and be like, yeah, these cars suck. Like, I thought these cars were great, but yeah, like, look at the tires. They blow out. Like, no. Okay, we can stay here. You'd be like, all right, yeah? Well, we got a time machine. I'm going to go ahead 50 years. Let me see what that happens. You go ahead 50 years, and the people would be like, hey, what's up? You're not supposed to be able to see me. Be like, oh, yeah, hey, what's up? Oh, we cracked that. Your technology is barbaric. Want some food? You can come over to the replicator. You want to go to the next star system? How do you do that? Oh, Earth is. Hey, what's up? Dude, this place is magical. I'd be like, yeah, we got rid of conservatives, and all of a sudden, like, hey, what's up? Why do you keep saying that? We don't want to mess with things, and you're, hey, what's up? All of that because they don't want to mess too much with the timeline. See? Because they're too afraid of having conservatives in their timeline and fucking up their timeline. You'll be looking around, there's like, I can't see the top of that building. Like, it reaches 7 miles into the sky. Like, oh yeah, that's. They'd be like, you need to go back where you belong. And they just send us back. Like, you're primitives. And we'd be like, no. We did that in 50 years? Just by getting rid of conservatism? Like, yeah. I'm still not convinced. Like, ugh. It's a long fight. To go back to what they're talking about before, conservatives, and they want to keep everything. Conservatives, I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking conservatives were the kind of people that were against seatbelts in cars. And they probably are still the same kind of people that are like, I don't want to wear my seatbelt. All right, fine, die. Now, their Young Gun is having Kyle Kulinski define uh, for him the way Kyle views. Kyle uses the term liberal and leftist. I mean, liberal for Kyle is, uh, um, make things better, but not too much better, basically. Don't change things too much, but kind of incremental changes, sort of. And a leftist is like, kind of like, this thing is, society is pretty messed up and requires pretty big changes. I'd agree with that, although I personally, if there's anyone out there that watches a lot of my videos, there you go. Smell on that. You would be aware that I tend to go one step further than Kyle's definition of even a leftist. A lot of my ideas are super duper. I mean, I want to create, let me get this done. There we go. There we go. I'm putting up my rallies. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I think we have an opportunity. Now, we have all the necessary ingredients now in the modern era to create a much better world. And not just for the United States, but for the whole world, for all of humanity. So why don't we do it? Really, the only thing that's getting in the way is the brainwashing of people and multi-millionaires and billionaires. That's really the only thing that's in the way now. And we can create a society that's really radically good. I would say China is closest to doing something like that. But from what I hear, China has also got some kind of swept under the rug social issues that are kind of That's like, it's kind of like, look at us, we're so good and everything. And it's just like, yeah, except for like, you know, everybody knows like you're doing some fucked up shit to like these people and that people within your borders. So it's like you're not really there yet. And like I say about China, they've got a big problem looming on, you know, a few years out. That professor that's, you know, getting really like big and famous, that Yang Shui Feng, It's like, oh, I made a few predictions and I was right. It's like, yeah, that's nice. Good on you, buddy. Except you famously, mysteriously, you know, I know if it's like, yeah, except that one prediction that you're not talking about, which is China's got this huge population of people that have all these degrees, and they want jobs, but there's no jobs for them. And they're smart, educated, and everything. And I'm like, where's the jobs for these people? They don't want fucking shitty ass factory jobs and stuff. They're too good for factory jobs. They're also too good to be soldiers. So, what are you going to do when you have 50 million people that are going to be like, yeah, ain't going to be soldier, ain't going to be factory worker? What are you going to do with 50 million people? I mean, I know you got a big police force and stuff, but what are you going to do? I mean, really. And you just keep graduating more of these people. So, I mean, it's just the problem is just getting bigger and bigger. So, the guy's just like, oh, the West is crumbling and stuff. Bad West. It's like, yeah, but it's humanity that has this problem. Like, you guys look at home. Like, seriously. So, what are you gonna do? You're not like advertising the solution that China has for this. I don't know what it is. Hopefully, you got people working on the solution. Um, because if you don't, there's going to be some fucked up shit happening in China. And what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to like start killing your best educated people? Like, you're going to like, oh, now we have to like send police in to stop riot and kill people. Like, yeah, you just invested all that time and effort in creating a class of extremely well educated people. And like very quickly, you're going to find out that all those people, first of all, it's bad to kill them. Like that's just a waste of all of that. And second of all, let me just say, they're a lot harder to kill than you might think they are, and a lot harder to subdue because they're smart and knowledgeable and stuff. And it's like, oh, we just shoot them with bullets. It's like, yeah, why don't you try that? Just try. It's not going to go well. Hold on a second. I just ate. Talking about the extremes between far right and far left. And when you're on the right and you're talking about, that's the thing, like, you're on the right and you're talking about hate, or you're posting online about hate all the time. All it does is feed into your brain about hate all the time. And they're like, the guy was just like, yummy, not even a drop missed. They're talking about how most of the shootings and all that stuff, almost all was right wingers. because it's true. Damn it, come on, you fucking thing. Because you think about that stuff and you think about that stuff, post about that stuff, talk about that stuff. It just gets into your brain more and more. And think about hate and all that stuff. I had to press down on the cap on my silver. And it just breeds hate and horrible feelings in your mind more and more. But if you talk and post about the opposite of that kind of thing more and more, it breeds the opposite in your mind. You know why? Neural pathways in your brain. It's neuroscience. They want you, the ever-present they, whenever you say they, we're talking about the they want you to hate more and more. Hate is more useful to them. Hate is linked, correlated, near in your brain to division. Hence, it is more useful to the power structure they, as opposed to things like love, which is more closely linked to things like empathy and compassion. And they want you to be they want you focused on hate and rage and stuff and be mad. That's why all those pastors and stuff talk about all the fire and brimstone bullshit of God. Much, much more than, Jesus walking around being, the healer and talking about being compassionate to sick people and being a person that walked around and had conversations with everyone. Basically, anything other than rage bait garbage. This pastor could just not talk about that stuff, like ever. If they wanted to. Apparently they don't want to. They don't want to just not talk about that stuff. They want to talk about all the sensationalist, that God being wrathful and stuff talking and be like, we gotta get the whatever they want to do. I don't know. I haven't gone to church enough to talk about it, but I've only gone a few times and I've heard enough where I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to be here anymore. It's really kind of sad, actually, by the way. To go to these churches only a few times and only really encounter one pastor, and he was a visiting pastor. He wasn't like the one that was going to be there the entire time. That I was like, this guy's actually kind of fun. I actually kind of like this guy. But he was the guy that was only going to be there for a couple of weeks, and it was like, it was whatever. As a pastor, he told jokes, which they were pastor's jokes, so they weren't like funny. They were kind of funny. They were funny for like a pastor that was kind of an old man. So he was, it wasn't really hard on the fire and brimstone stuff. He was all right. More of a lighthearted guy. I don't know how well received he was or anything, but he was okay. So, it was like 1 out of 5 that I went to. Whatever. To be continued. Yeah, again, they're just saying the same thing. The same things that I'm saying. People, I don't want to say who, say I live in a bubble. And it's like, I'd rather live in my bubble than somebody else's, than the other bubble that is probably the other choice. Because I'd rather live in this bubble than the other bubble, because the other bubble is just wrong. Conservatives and conservatism is just, it's the wrong place with wrong ideas and the wrong conclusion. It's wrong. I mean, if this was math class and the teacher would ask me, given this right on the board, solve for, like everyone's solve the equation or solve the logical problem or whatever the exercise would be. I'd be living in the correct solution or solution set or something. I mean, they're just wrong. They are just wrong. I mean, unless you were born into a multi-millionaire or billionaire family, then I guess it's right. Unless do we have any super duper rich black families in America? Any legacy rich, really, really rich black families? I don't know if we do. I mean, because the really rich black people pretty much have only come around in the last 50 years. And really only in the last 20-ish. 20, 30-ish. Like Oprah. I think Oprah's a billionaire. And there are a few others that are getting close to being a billionaire, like Kevin Hart. I mean, these ones that are like that have a net worth of like $500 million and stuff. as long as they play their cards right, they will be billionaires. By the time they die, manage money correct, do investments, maybe network with other fellow black people, and we will see the first few black billionaires, the first group of black billionaires in this country, and that will go on to have children that are whatever, but that'll be like the first generation of legacy black billionaires. But you know, maybe that's really what Trump and these guys are about. Like, I don't know. Hold on a second. I'm curious now. All right. Well, apparently there are. I guess they, the black rich people, don't want to do what Jews do, which is get together and form some kind of explicit, very tight-knit alliance. I guess they don't view let's just say 400 years of slavery as equal or equivalent to a Holocaust. So whatever. I'm sure they have there's a whole lot of black societies and stuff. There's nothing, I don't know, whatever. I've said this before. There's not enough unified motion there is APAC, but there's not, I don't know what the fuck you'd call it. It's not up to me to name a black political action committee that puts enough money together year on year in order to say, yeah, you think Israel's giving you enough money? What do you think about this? So, I'm just saying. But you don't even really have to do that. You just have to, stop black people from moving from, where is it? Compton to the suburb to Compton to, I don't know what you're going to call it, but wherever. Whatever community you folks want to build, I suggest South Dakota. I know black people don't like the cold, but South Dakota is not very inhabited. And if you move a few 100,000 black people into South Dakota with billions and billions of dollars injected into the South Dakotan economy. I'm sure the rural folk would love all of that money that's coming in. What with all those jobs they lost, all those, uh, all those abandoned factories and stuff suddenly being renovated and shit and put back into functioning because Oprah and LeBron bought them and fixed them up, and now people have jobs. I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, we thought these black people would just come in here buy up the town, but turns out. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, young Don just asked Kyle, uh, pretty much. I'm paraphrasing here. Do you think we need to talk? Hold on a second. I want to kind of get it fresh in my mind because I just went and took a piss. All right. So, like I said, young Don asked Kyle about, do you think we need to focus on class, basically rich versus the poor, and like kind of like the gradients in between, or do we need to do it kind of segment by segment, black, white, blah, 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 gay, straight, trans, women, maybe even single mother versus not, all of that stuff? Do we need to kind of look at it more like that, one versus the other? And I think because of Trump and the way that the Republicans have screwed things over the past 40 years, and the way that this Trump 2.0 administration has taken that kind of philosophy and ultra super mega duper charged it in a year and a half, I think, maybe Kyle will say it in a minute. Maybe Kyle will agree with me in a minute. I think you can just straight up attack the money problem, and you don't even need to worry about this, the group, the itemized group problem, black, white, Latino, blah, women, straight, gay, trans, any of that stuff. You don't need to really worry about it. You just need to take, like I said, I've been saying this for a while, a levy. Levies are, I use levy because tax would be changing the actual year-on-year tax code. Would be actually rewriting the tax code for year-on-year taxes. Levy is, I'm going to take your money now, bitch. It's going to be right now. We're going to take some shit and fuck you. Basically because we've been giving these rich people money for 40 years. And that money has been, we've been giving them $5, $7, $8, $12, $15, $20, $70 every year, and every year they've been rolling it over, and now they got a shitload of money, all these people, these top 10%. And so I think now we need to just be like, whoop, take a shitload of money one time, and they'll be like, all right, we're going to change the tax code too. So after we took a buttload of your money, which it's not going to be just cash, by the way, it's going to be stocks, assets, whatever. A whole lot of shit. And we'll look over, but basically, it's going to be a whole lot of shit. And yeah, then we'll redo the tax code, and we'll say you're going to pay much higher taxes. I would just go back to 1948 and be like, that's what you're going to pay, not just on your income, but on everything that you get. And it was like 90%. That is how we make America great again, motherfuckers. And I would leave it to tax people, accountants, tax lawyers, whatever, to write the specific laws. But more or less, that's how you do it. I mean, and anyone of the rich people's tax whatevers that wants to put some kind of hole or exemption or shit into it, no. We had the laws. We had all that stuff in the 1950s. I mean, surely there's got to be a record for what we had in the 1950s. Go look it up. Stuff was working great back then. Money was rolling in. Nobody was getting away with shit. Look it up back then. All right. We can modernize it for stuff that is new, for sectors that are new. We can use that as a template. And there you go. I mean, I don't see what's so difficult about this. I don't see why it would take that long. It's, the middle of the year. Go figure it out. And then we have money for a lot of programs. And there you are. This is what these people went to school for. And, they got the big, beautiful bill out in record time. They put Project 2025 together in, a year, 2 years? So it can be done quick when you want it done quick. So there you go. Yeah, he just ended by kind of mentioning all the other ways. Kyle ended by talking about he and his now wife they lived in DC in an apartment above a communist communist starvation deaths due to communist museum or something like that. And he talked about how they could look out of their apartment into a park and, see like 30 homeless people there, and how it was a nice, like, ironic kind of thing. And, how that's like never seems to get mentioned, or rarely. It only gets mentioned by like, people that pay attention. It's not like on the news. Um, and young Don was like, yeah, they don't like mention that, or they don't mention like the deaths from like the slave trade and blah blah blah. And young Don gave a nice mention to like, or the men that kill themselves, because it's just like, what's the point of working? I mean, like, I'm 45 going on 55, going on 65, going on dead. What's the point? I mean, really, what's the point, And there's just like a certain percentage of people that are just like offing themselves due to like depression and whatnot because jobs are so crappy, life is so crappy. So he gives a shout out to that too. I like it. Yeah, yeah. There's the scar. Oh, it was a nice video to watch. With some good thoughts to talk about. Pretty much what I talk about. Dang it! My stupid guy isn't back yet. Mother sucker. Alright, we can put that guy in there. Oh boy. Oh man. Just some good wholesome farts going on. And yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say. I think I said it all, pretty much. Alright. I guess tax rich people, kneecap rich people. Like Gary says, tax wealth, not work. And then we'll have a good world filled with boobs. Boobs. Peace out. It's a long one. I don't know how some people watch 5 minutes of this thing. Me blab on. If anybody watches like a full one, that's more than a half hour. But cheers. Cheers to you, mate. Peace out.